So, they say you're crazy. Hi, I'm George McKenna. You might remember me from such inspirational films as, oh wait, they haven't made those yet. Anyways. So I'm making this video for people that have recently been diagnosed as mentally ill, or for the families therein. I know that might seem like a death sentence in a strange way, and that your life is probably never going to be the same. You're always going to have to take these pills, right? You know, that's what they constantly sell you on. I'm here to tell you that's not the case. I'm here to say that just because the things that you're experiencing may not be understood by the people around you, doesn't mean that there's no basis for why you're feeling what you're feeling. There's some things that I would maybe invite you to consider. The first thing I would say is you need to take an active role in your own mental health. So that means researching a lot of different things and trying to sort out for yourself what's what. Now, personally, I subscribe to a philosophy called anti-psychiatry, which is, I mean, the concept that what psychiatry is doing is actually harming people and not providing any help. Now, that's a fairly controversial view, obviously, but I've arrived at that based off of my own research and experiences with the psychiatric establishment. So, if you're on meds and you feel like the meds are working for you or something, I would invite you to look into all of the side effects, or I think as it could more accurately be described, the effects of those drugs. Because here's the thing. I think psychiatry as a profession has made an error. And the error was first made in the 1900s. When we were transitioning from the belief that mental illness was being possessed by demons to this is a physiological condition. And within that, like, have you ever told a lie and then you got to tell another lie to protect the first lie that you told? And then you got to tell another lie about the other lie to protect the first two, and it becomes a whole thing. That's basically what happened with psychiatry. You see, they arrived at the conclusion that people were behaving strangely because their brains were imbalanced. And the first lie that they told was, oh, we've invented this brand new surgery, lobotomy, and it's working wonders for our patients. What we do is we simply cut out part of their brain, and they seem to behave much less retarded than they did beforehand. So that was the first lie. And then in order to cover that lie, they had to go with, oh, well, we found a much less invasive way to treat that symptomology of the chemical imbalance in the brain. Now, the problem is that there's no quantifiable evidence to substantiate the claim of neurological chemical imbalance in the brain. Now, I'm not saying that means that there's no problem whatsoever. In fact, a lot of research into the digestive tract and candida overgrowth are actually suggesting that the majority of what is currently being treated by psychiatry is actually an imbalance, but not of the chemicals in the brain, but of the bacteria within the stomach. So at the time that I was diagnosed, I consumed a large amount of diet soda. I had a very poor balance, I guess you could say, of the digestive tract within my body. I had acne all over the place, and I had a very bad diet. And instead of treating the root cause of my problem, my strange behavior and everything being caused by a bad diet, and also some rather serious psychological things, like I was raped when I was a kid and abused by my parents, and like physically, sexually, emotionally, all those horrible things that, your mind would find some way to tuck in a back corner somewhere so you can deal with daily life, right? So all of those normal things combined with this candida overgrowth of bacteria in my body caused me to behave in like an anxious and unpredictable and semi-depressed kind of way. Now the way to treat this is actually very simple. There's a very simple way to treat this. So if you've been recently diagnosed as insane or crazy, or obviously they throw like some fancy label on it, but most of the time those labels don't mean shit. Because one shrink will diagnose you with bipolar disorder, and another one will say you're schizophrenic. It comes down to whatever drug they're trying to push, right? They're either trying to sell risperidone or Zyprexa or some other. There's literally just so many of these drugs that they could sell. When really, using pharmacology to try and treat mental illness, all the psychotropic drugs to try and treat the symptoms that you're currently experiencing is like trying to use a sledgehammer to chop down a tree. Like, it's not the right tool for the job. My recommendations to you that have been diagnosed are as follows. The first thing is to try and reflect on your own circumstances in life with a very honest lens. And reflect on your actions, the actions of others around you, and ponder, why is it that I feel the compunction to do X? Or why is it that I feel I need to do Y? So that's part one. Part two is once you start to identify what I would say are maybe uncomfortable truths. Sometimes we tell ourselves lies because the truth is so horrifying we don't even know how to begin to deal with it. So one of the lies that I told myself is that my parents cared about me, about who I was as a person, and that they honestly did want me to succeed and did care about me. And because I wanted to believe that lie, I was never able to accept the truth, which is that they don't. Now that's a painful truth, but it's liberating. Because now that I know that that's what I'm really dealing with, then a whole bunch of my other behaviors start to make sense. So my general rebellious attitude towards business types and the rich and all these things. Well, that's where I came from. And considering the treatment that I received from, my pocket of rich, I said, fuck it. Those people are terrible. I don't want anything to do with them. Now, my mistake of assumption is that all rich people behave the way that my parents did, which isn't the case. A lot of them do, but some of them don't. So one of the things that I found I was predisposed to doing was painting the world in very broad brushstrokes and doing everything that I could to ignore the more humbling and disturbing truths. Like nobody wants to remember that they were raped when they were a kid. But, that's what happened to me. And living in denial of that isn't good. Living in denial of that doesn't do anything for me. It just makes me feel like shit for no reason. No, I feel like shit because I was violated. You see, there's a logic to that. Now, what psychiatry does is nothing to do with any of this. What psychiatry did for me is just medicated me, threw a lot of drugs at me, and if I had stuck with the psychiatrist's plans, I would have never even remembered half of these things that I now do. So was psychiatry medicating me to protect me from those memories? Was that good? Was that bad? We get into a whole bunch of ethical questions here. Personally, I think you have to take certain notes from various philosophers throughout history. Like Mills was a guy that really put forward an insistence on truth. And truth is, something that I would also insist is required. So we did that. So there's psychological problems. That's a big one that you're going to have to deal with. The other thing is your physical well-being. Taking care of your body. Now, obviously, maybe not obvious to everyone, but obvious to me, and I guess most people that take vitamins and shit like that. The food supply in North America, although it's plentiful, doesn't offer a lot of sustenance. So generally the food that you're getting in North America from the grocery store will make you sicker. Diet sodas contain aspartame. Aspartame is something that Candida feeds upon. One thing that I would invite you to try and research a little bit is actually Probiotic America, I think is the YouTube channel. They put out a lot of videos that are very informative about what is actually going on and how all that stuff works in a way that's palatable to the layman to understand. But basically, you've got these candidas, which are they're part of your body. They're there, and the other flora and fauna which you need. And it's the combination of these two things in balance, not 50-50 balance, but like 80-20 balance. But those things balanced off is how your system runs smoothly. And now a lot of the aspartames and other processed foods that we consume feed the candida and kill the flora and fauna, because the candida starts to eat the flora and fauna, and then you get all this overgrowth, and then you get a little crazy. So that's the second thing. It's your physical well-being. So look into whether or not you're digesting things properly. If you have outbreaks on your skin, which I think a lot of mental patients are suffering from candida overgrowth, and there's no real way for admitting psychiatrists to know that. And second of all, Pfizer hasn't made some neuropsycholeptic drug that's going to treat candida overgrowth. It's, the drugs that they providing are actually blocking neurotransmitters in your brain, which makes no sense. Like, the logic behind how blocking someone's neurotransmitters in their brain could somehow help their thought process clear somehow, like, there's no logic to that. So, mind, okay, your psychology, you gotta get your psychology taken care of. That's the first thing. Figuring out your personal circumstances, dilemmas, strengths and flaws of character, strengths and deficits of character. Sorry, that's probably the better way of saying that. Your physical health, make sure, give yourself a good old cleanse, try and get all that crap out of your body, so to speak. And then the third thing is, maybe try going to church. Or some type of, Tai Chi. Whatever your bag of, or, maybe you're into alchemy. There's a litany of things that you can get into that are good for what we would deem your soul. So the real cure to these mental disturbances, which you may or may not be experiencing, is you have to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. Well, no shit, George. Well, no shit, psychiatry. Why isn't psychiatry using this? It's not profitable. Psychiatry is much. Psychiatry, I think, can be much more accurately described as a branch of law enforcement than it ever could as a branch of medicine. So, that's been this video for the recently diagnosed. My name's George. I'm a comic and a writer and an actor and a very high-functioning schizophrenic, whatever the hell that means, And so, I just want you to know if some shrink or whatever has said you're out of your tree, fuck that guy, he's probably out of his tree. You're a beautiful human being with limitless potential inside of you, just waiting to be unlocked. And with these three things, taking care of your mind, body, and soul, there's literally nothing that can stop you. So, I put this out with my hope and prayer that you'll beat it too, because I did.